Hey guys! So, do you want to go to the future? Then buy a ticket to China. This country already wants to be in the 22nd century. The Chinese economy is one of the strongest in the world. The country is moving forward like a Kenyan sprinter. This video will show you 10 of China's mega projects that are already complete. The longest bridge, the largest radio telescope, the Chinese analog to the Palm Jumeirah artificial islands. The Chinese won't stop impressing the world with their incredible achievements. Opera House in Guangzhou. The Guangzhou Opera House is one of the largest in the country. This incredible building is 495,000 square feet. For comparison, according to FIFA standards, a soccer field is just 77,000 square feet. That means this opera house can fit a whopping 6 soccer fields in it, with room to spare. The giant building has just 2 concert halls, but they're amazing. One has 1,800 seats, and the other has 400. They are massive, but attendees can hear wonderfully even in the back rows. The acoustics are astounding. Now, this amazing building was built in just 5 years. The project budget was about $200 million. Yeah, that's a huge sum, but just look at this result. The building resembles a spaceship or rocks washed by a river's waves. Now, that's no accident. The architect was inspired by river landscapes. It's even more noticeable inside. The ceiling levels run into each other like waves and bend like a river. The Shanghai Yangtze River Tunnel and Bridge. Shanghai is the country's financial center. The city is constantly growing and expanding. Just a few years ago, they ran out of room. The city's borders extended into a river, so the Chinese found an original solution. They decided to connect the city to the Qinshan and Chongming Island. They built an incredibly long highway that crosses 2 islands and the river to do so. The project cost China $1,840 million. The highway begins in Shanghai on the bank of the Yangtze River. Then it goes into a giant tunnel. It's 5.5 miles long and over 49 feet across. It's the widest tunnel in the world. The Chinese weren't chasing records, though. They had another goal in mind. The tunnel has 2 levels. The lower level has the subway, and the upper level has a 6-lane highway. And the approved speed is fairly high at 50 miles per hour, almost like you're on a racetrack. The Chinese realized the traffic would be intense and did everything to avoid traffic jams. Now the tunnel ends on the southern coast of Changxing where the bridge begins. It runs across the entire island at ground level, crosses the river, and ends at Chongming Island. The total length is 54,134 feet. The bridge has 6 traffic lanes, like the tunnel. Drivers don't need to maneuver or change lanes. Everything is as convenient as possible. You exit the tunnel, you're on the bridge, and you just keep going. The side lanes are reserved for subway lines. Shanghai World Financial Center. This is often called the bottle opener, and I don't think I need to explain why. The bottle opener is 1,614.2 feet tall. This skyscraper is one of the top 10 tallest buildings in Asia and number 11 in the world. Now, despite its height, the bottle opener is incredibly sturdy and safe. The building can withstand earthquakes up to 7 on the Richter scale. There are additional evacuation paths, protected stairwells, and elevators on the building sides. There are protected floors every 12 floors where people can take shelter during a fire. The walls on those floors are reinforced by reinforced concrete frames and have shields made from fireproof steel. Additionally, the windows aren't shatterproof, but are just normal glass ones. So as necessary, they can be broken so people don't suffocate on smoke. The Chinese analyzed the events of September 11, 2001 and did everything they could so something similar wouldn't happen in Shanghai. By the way, the skyscraper's amusing shape isn't a joke. The opening at the top is necessary to reduce the air resistance during strong wind conditions. At first, The architect wanted to make the window round. That way it wouldn't look like a bottle opener. But the clients tore the project down to its core. China and Japan aren't particularly friendly, and a round window on a rectangular skyscraper resembled the Japanese flag, so the architect had to make the window rectangular. Jiaozhou Bay Bridge. This is the longest bridge in the world, with 16.6 miles over the water. It was built in just 4 years. They certainly work fast. But why is that surprising? Over 10,000 workers worked on the project. The bridge connects Qingdao and Hongdao. Over 70 million cubic feet on concrete and 450,000 tons of steel went into the project. The bridge is incredibly sturdy. It can withstand typhoons, being hit by giant cargo ships, and even Richter 8 earthquakes. The giant bridge cost $7 billion, and not everyone in China appreciates that. The bridge isn't the only road between Qingdao and Hongdao. There's a normal highway that runs along the coastline. The bridge just saves some time, and not even that much, just 20 or 30 minutes. Not the most impressive result. Qinshan Nuclear Power Plant. The Qinshan Nuclear Power Plant has 2 firsts. It's the first nuclear power plant built in China, and the first nuclear power plant built according to a Chinese project without bringing in foreigners. It opened in 1991. At that time, just 1 reactor was operational. It produced 300 megawatts. Now that's very paltry by current standards. But now the power plant has 7 reactors, with 15 times the energy output. It produces 4,386 megawatts. That's 200 megawatts more than the largest American nuclear power plant in Palo Verde. Shanghai Tower. It seems like they really love tall buildings in Shanghai. In 2008, they built a mall shaped like a bottle opener that we mentioned earlier. And in 2015, they finished the Shanghai Tower. It's really cool. The Shanghai Tower is the tallest building in Asia and the 3rd tallest in the world. It's an impressive 2,073 feet tall. It was built in 7 years. It cost $4 billion, and that was the cheap option. It's built in the shape of an upward spiral. Now, the unusual design reduced wind pressure by 24%, and thanks to that, the architects decreased the amount of steel reinforcements and saved $58 million. Fast Radio Telescope. The radio telescope FAST began being built in 1994 and was finished in 2016. 20 years and $185 million went into this incredible project. The telescope size is astounding. The main lens is 1,640 feet across. The Chinese used the natural landscape to create this Goliath. The telescope was built right into the landscape, the lens was placed in a natural sinkhole, and the radio receiver was installed 460 feet above it. No, not that one that you're thinking of. You're not getting radio stations from another country on this. Now, if you aren't into astronomy, let me explain real quick. The radio telescope doesn't show constellations or galaxies. It actually listens to space. The huge lens catches radiation from space objects, and the radio receiver receives the signals and transfers them to a machine. To remove potential interference, radio telescopes are built in empty areas without people. This was hard for the Chinese. It's very difficult to find a place in China without people. But the government solved that problem by just resettling all the people to at least 3 miles away from the telescope. It was just 9,000 people, which is nothing to them. They were provided with new places to live and paid compensation. The Chinese FAST is currently one of the best radio telescopes in the world, maybe even the best. The FAST is 650 feet longer than the American Arecibo. But size isn't everything. The Chinese radio telescope has a more accurate focus and processes information 5 times faster. Additionally, its sensitivity is twice as great. It seems like China is seriously focused on being number one in the space technology race. The US is going to have to play some catch-up. Three Gorges Dam. So, do you think that nuclear power plants are the most powerful? Then you should meet the Three Gorges Hydroelectric Gravity Dam. This giant produces 98 billion kilowatt hours with a power of about 22.5 gigawatts. How much is that? Well, the largest nuclear power plant in the world is the Kashiwazaki Kariwa, with a power of just 8,212 megawatts. The Chinese dam is 3 times more powerful, but that's not its only unique quality. The Three Gorges Dam is the heaviest structure on the planet. Just one concrete dam weighs 65.5 million tons. It is 7,661 feet long and 594 feet tall. It took 953 million cubic feet of concrete to build it. If you make a 3-foot diameter tube out of that concrete, it would wrap around the Earth's equator. 40,000 people worked on building the dam, and construction lasted 17 years. The total budget was $30.5 billion, and 1/3 of that went to resettling people. A water reservoir of 31,900,000 acre-feet was built to launch the dam. They needed to flood a huge area near the rivers to do so. People lived there and naturally had to be moved. The Chinese government provided 1,300,000 people with new homes and resettlement benefits. Turning Chinese rivers. This is a metaphor, of course. They aren't actually turning already exiting rivers, but are digging new ones. Southern China suffers from regular flash floods when the Yangtze overflows. The north has constant droughts, where the Yellow and Hai rivers are, where there isn't enough water. Even Mao Zedong proposed connecting the southern and northern rivers, changing the river's content. That was 70 years ago, and the project seemed like a fantasy. But the Chinese are stubborn, and they've already made the fantasy reality. The Chinese have already dug 2 big canals. Residents in the dry regions receive 353 billion cubic feet of water a year. 30 years later, that number grew to 1.6 trillion. To dig the eastern and central canals, the Chinese moved 388 billion cubic feet of dirt and placed 776 billion cubic feet of concrete. The complex's total length is 1,500 miles. Now the Chinese are laying the third canal. It will be 310 miles long, but it will run through the mountains 16,000 feet above sea level. The canal will be above the clouds, not under them. It's considered the largest construction project in the world. The budget has already gone over $80 billion, and they only have finished 2/3 of the plan, which was the easy part. Specialists have estimated the project's total cost at $500 billion. That's the annual budget for Poland. Not bad, huh? Ocean Flower Island. Finally, in 2021, another huge project was completed. It's the Chinese analog to the Palm Jumeirah. The artificial Ocean Flower Island is a new tourist attraction in China. Interestingly, this project isn't being paid for by the government, but thanks to investors. Creating the artificial islands cost $24 billion. 10 million tourists are planned to visit the islands every year. The tourist archipelago looks like an outlandish flower from above. It's made up of 3 artificial islands with a total area of 1.5 square miles that are connected. They will have entertainment and relaxation sites for people of all ages and interests. Hotels, including 5-star ones, parks and water parks, museums, aquariums, duty-free stores, a conference center, malls, cafes, bars, restaurants, and more can be found. Well, that's all for today. Be sure to leave a like, comment, let me know which one of these you're most impressed with. And we'll see you again next time.